Hi everyone. So I'm sure you've seen by now the headlines. It's all over the news. It's on social media. It's on TikTok. It's everywhere where they're talking about this huge lawsuit that was settled yesterday with the National Association of Realtors. And so we're starting to get phone calls and questions about how this is going to affect real estate transactions going forward. Some of our clients are wondering how this is going to affect them. And luckily we work for an amazing broker who has been giving us guidance and keeping us in the loop since it started, which was almost 2 years ago, I believe. I think right around that time frame. So while I hate doing videos, I figured this was probably the easiest way to get some information out there. And I will preface this by saying that this is still evolving and this is still changing. The state of Ohio has to weigh in on this still. So we're going to be learning more as we go forward. But for now, just wanted to kind of give you the Cliff's Notes of what this lawsuit is all about. So the way that it has been done forever is that when you list a house, you have an agreement with your listing agent to sell your house for X amount of dollars for, a commission. And the way that works is that the commission gets split between the listing broker and the selling broker. In order to have your house listed in the multiple listing service, you had to have an offer of compensation to your buyer's agent. It was required. You could not have your house in the multiple listing service without an offer of compensation for your buyer's agent. And for those of you who don't know what the MLS is, that's where all of our houses are that are being sold across the country. It's not just an Ohio thing. It's not a Northeast Ohio thing. It's across the country. So if you list your house with a realtor, then it goes into the MLS. Now, for those of you who look on Zillow or Realtor.com, Trulia, RussellRealEstate.com, hundreds of websites that have houses for sale that are listing, this is where those houses come from. They get fed from the MLS, okay? So that's why this system is really important. So when your house gets put up for sale in the MLS, there's always an offer of compensation to the buyer's agent. So what this is saying now, this lawsuit is saying that as a seller of a property, you should not be required to offer compensation to a buyer's agent. You should only have an agreement with the listing agent to compensate them, and the buyer should be responsible for their own agent's compensation. So one of the things that came out of the settlement is saying that when you do list your house for sale and it goes into the MLS, you will no longer be able to offer compensation to the buyer's agent. That doesn't mean you can't, but it will not be part of the MLS, and that buyers are going to be responsible for paying their own agents potentially. It also says now with the new regulations going forward that if you're a buyer, before you go out and see any houses, before you really get into the details of working with a buying agent, you're going to be required to sit down with them, have a conversation about how the process works, and hopefully your realtor is knowledgeable and getting educated on this whole process, and you're going to be required to sign an agreement with them stating that if you do purchase a home with them, that you are going to be responsible for their compensation for the services that they are providing you. Now, this does not mean that it still can't be paid out the way that we've always done it, where it comes from the proceeds of the sale. In some cases, that's not going to be an option. But in other cases, if you have a realtor, again, who is knowledgeable, who knows how to negotiate, who is staying current with all of that, the plan is, the hope is that we still should be able to negotiate those items into an offer when we send an offer in on a home that's for sale that your buyer is interested in. So buyers, that's what that's going to mean for you, that you are either going to be responsible for paying your realtor, or make sure you're hiring a realtor who knows how to get that negotiated into the contract so that that could be part of your offer, that could be paid out by the seller. Sellers, what that means is you do not have to, you are not required to pay a buyer's agent compensation when you list your home. We're going to do follow-up video on this, but it's definitely something that we recommend for lots of reasons. Smoother transactions, more qualified buyers coming to see your houses, less likelihood of contracts falling apart from buyers who are choosing to represent themselves and maybe don't really know what they're doing. There's just going to be a lot of things that go along with that. So we'll be, again, talking more about this in the future, but With the new guidelines going forward, sellers, you are no longer going to be required to offer that not upfront. That does not mean that it's not going to be part of an offer that comes in from a buyer, that you do offer, give compensation to the broker that's representing them, but it's not something that you're going to have to be made to do, like, it's been perceived that it was a requirement before. So with all of that change, we're going to stay educated, and we're going to keep in touch with all of you and let you know what those changes mean for you personally when we meet with you, when we talk with you. There is going to be a lot of changes in the way that we do business, and it's not a bad thing necessarily, but it's going to be different. So especially for you clients that do several transactions with us every year, things are going to change going forward, and we'll obviously have more detailed conversations with you. But you know what? It's still going to be a profitable thing for you, and the market is as strong as ever. And so don't listen to the deceiving, scary headlines. If we had listened to the deceiving, scary headlines, we would be in a market crash right now, which I don't know if you've looked around much, but we are not in a market crash. Things are back into multiple offers, not enough houses to sell. So supply and demand is still a real thing. But I mean, the headlines are deceiving on purpose. They want you to keep tuning into the news. So anyway, the whole point of this is just that, again, the state of Ohio still has to weigh in on their thoughts on this, but there are going to be some changes coming, and we will definitely, keep in touch with everybody on that. And the biggest thing is to please make sure that when you hire a realtor, there is so much value in having your own representation. Please make sure that they are educated on the new laws and the new contracts and the new processes. Please make sure that when you meet with them, that these are conversations that you're having. They should know that this is coming. This is not a surprise. And hopefully the brokers that they work for are helping them with education and training. So, just make sure that you know who you're hiring. And as far as my team and my company, we're going to make sure that we're doing our part to keep you in the loop with everything. And we are doing our part with training and education and making sure we know what all the new laws are on everything. We adapted during COVID. We adapted with all the things that meant, that market during COVID and after, where every house was getting, 20 offers and 50,000 over asking and no inspections and all the crazy things that was happening in that market. And we'll adapt this time as well. Change is not necessarily a bad thing, and we're going to roll with it. So this is just video number 1. There will be follow-up, but please feel free to contact us with questions you might have, and we're excited to see where this goes.